Hey everyone, it's Saoirse, and today we're going to get philosophical in a cat-like way because I'm going to talk about feline philosophy, cats and the meaning of life. This is by John Gray. You might hear my cat is currently crunching her food, so it really sets a mood. There are cats coming and going all the time. Well, I have two cats, and they have a catio, so they sort of walk into their catio, walk back through, hopefully they'll get on my lap. One's coming right now. She's gonna do it. She's gonna get on my lap. There she goes. Look, there she is. Okay, perfect. Now we can begin. So it's already Christmas, as you can see. It would have been Christmas a long time ago if I could have gotten a tree, but I always get a real tree, and there were not any available until recently. But now it is super cozy in here and I'm absolutely loving it. So let's dig in. I have recently become interested in philosophy because of the show The Good Place. It is so good. If you have not seen it, please go watch all of it. It's on Netflix. And they talk a lot about ethics and moral philosophy in that show. One of the characters is a professor of ethics and moral philosophy. So they mention a lot of specific philosophers and philosophical concepts that I mostly was unfamiliar with. So that really opened up my mind to a whole new world of study. And fascinatingly, I bought this book at a store where there was a philosophy section, and it was, this big. It was one little set of shelves. And there was already somebody there, and he was like, oh, I don't really normally see people in this section. So we chatted, and he basically was like the real life Chidi, who was the character from The Good Place. Like so many things that he was telling me about his life lined up with Chidi's life, and I just felt like something here is meaningful. But this book will tell you that humans trying to create a meaning for everything is one of our main problems. So some things simply are coincident. Well, everything is coincidence. But this is a great book to get started on philosophical concepts if you've never studied philosophy before. Some of it is pretty, high concept stuff that can be confusing, but for the most part it's laid out pretty simply. It's a very short book, and it's all framed around cats and using cats as a lens to study philosophy, which I think is brilliant. So I'll just read you the second paragraph on the back here. In feline philosophy, the philosopher John Gray discovers in cats a way of living that is unburdened by anxiety and self-consciousness, and shows how they embody the answers to the big questions of love and attachment, mortality, morality, and the self. Exploring the nature of cats and what we can learn from it, Gray offers a profound, thought-provoking meditation on the follies of human exceptionalism and our fundamentally vulnerable and lonely condition. He charts a path toward a life without illusions and delusions, revealing how we can endure both crisis and transformation and adapt to a changed scene, as cats have always done. Oh, I love it so much. Okay. So there are sections in this book, and I think this is important to note. You have cats and philosophy, why cats do not struggle to be happy, feline ethics, human versus feline love, time, death, and the feline soul, and cats and the meaning of life. So he uses great examples too about real life cats and cat owners throughout history that really illustrate the particular lesson he's trying to teach. So that's quite helpful. Alright, I'm going to pull out some of the quotes from here to give you a better idea of how great this book is. The source of philosophy is anxiety. And cats do not suffer from anxiety unless they are threatened or find themselves in a strange place. For humans, the world itself is a threatening and strange place. Religions are attempts to make an inhuman universe humanly habitable. Philosophers have often dismissed these faiths as being far beneath their own metaphysical speculations, but religion and philosophy serve the same need. Both try to fend off the abiding disquiet that goes with being human. Simple-minded folk will say the reason cats do not practice philosophy is that they lack the capacity for abstract thought, but one can imagine a feline species that had this ability, while still retaining the ease with which they inhabit the world. If these cats turned to philosophy, it would be as an amusing branch of fantastic fiction. Rather than looking to it as a remedy for anxiety, these feline philosophers would engage in it as a kind of play. Instead of being a sign of their inferiority, the lack of abstract thinking among cats is a mark of their freedom of mind. Thinking in generalities slides easily into a superstitious faith in language. Much of the history of philosophy consists of the worship of linguistic fictions. Relying on what they can touch, smell, and see, cats are not ruled by words. That was kind of a long section, but I love that idea that they don't read. So for them, studying ancient philosophers wouldn't do anything for them because they're not bound by words or by the concepts that other people or other cats have invented in history. You know, you think about philosophy, and I'm very interested in it, but also it seems like it's just a lot of studying what people thought in the past, and this constant search for answers where there really aren't any concrete, real, true answers. And I'm sure some philosophers would disagree with that, but for the most part, they're always hunting for something. And since cats don't use language, they're not going to live by some moral rule book that somebody else wrote. And I love that he points out how the lack of abstract thinking is not a negative thing, and it doesn't signal stupidity. He gets into it a lot, and by the end, you're pretty convinced that being a cat would be a whole lot better than being human. Oh, this part is just so cute. He talks about this person, Michel de Montaigne, who was alive in the 16th century. He said, "When I play with my cat, how do I know that she is not passing time with me rather than I with her?" I laughed so hard when I read that because it was just delightful. The idea that our cats are just, they're other beings in the house and they are passing time with us. You know, when we're sad and lonely and we seek out the company of our cats and they comfort us. Well, who's to say that they're not choosing to spend their time that way? Like, they're not just robots that we tell what to do. They have their own motivations and feelings, and they're free to do what they want, but they choose to hang out with us. So just the idea that, like, your cat might be bored and they come up to you to play with you because, oh my gosh, you're like their cat. It's adorable. Okay, so here's where we're going to tear apart people who don't like cats. At bottom, hatred of cats may be an expression of envy. Many human beings lead lives of muffled misery. Torturing other creatures is relief, since it inflicts worse suffering on them. Tormenting cats is particularly satisfying, since they are so satisfied in themselves. Cat hatred is very often the self-hatred of misery-sodden human beings redirected against creatures they know are not unhappy. He's talking at this point about how there used to be medieval festivals where people would torture cats, and I almost couldn't read some of these paragraphs. It was so upsetting. But that's such a good point. People who hate cats are unhappy at their core and unhappy with themselves and can't stand to see creatures that don't just bend to their every whim. Like, I love dogs, but they are people pleasers for the most part. Whereas cats just seem so much more independent and don't need people to survive, or to be content, but they choose to spend time with us. And I don't know. My cats are my best friends, and I love them more than anything in the world. And I'm literally petting my cat right now, off camera. You can't see. But yeah, if you've ever watched that documentary on Netflix, Don't F with Cats, that's the kind of person, that horrible monster, that's the kind of person who doesn't like cats. And I don't want anything to do with those kinds of people. Let's see. So there's a bit about fear of being alone with yourself. Posing as a cure, philosophy is a symptom of the disorder it pretends to remedy. Other animals do not need to divert themselves from their condition, whereas happiness in humans is an artificial state. For cats, it is their natural condition. Unless they are confined within environments that are unnatural for them, cats are never bored. Boredom is fear of being alone with yourself. Cats are happy being themselves, while humans try to be happy by escaping themselves. It says it all, doesn't it? Not that cats can't get anxiety, but you're so sweet. Oh, you can't even see this. I wish you could see she's just walking around on my lap. What a good girl. Yeah, but we spend all of our time trying to distract ourselves from certain things about being human. And cats are just completely chill, and that is why some people can't stand them, because to see an animal that's just so comfortable with itself and its existence and isn't afraid of anything, it's just, unless it's threatened, it's just living and feels content to spend a lot of time sleeping and eats when it wants to. It's easy to be jealous of that. And, I spend most of my life, I say alone, but I'm not alone because I have my cats with me. And I've had them for 10 years, more than 10 years. And it seems like I guess I don't remember what it's like to truly be alone without my sweet little companions, except for very brief periods when I was away from them. We're just so in tune with each other and connected, and I don't know, reading this book made me emotional. Okay, so fear of being with yourself also goes along with fear of death. In regard to diversion, humans and cats are at opposite poles. Not having formed an image of themselves, cats do not need to divert themselves from the fact that they will someday cease to exist. As a consequence, they live without the fear of time passing too quickly or too slowly. When cats are not hunting or mating, eating or playing, they sleep. There is no inner anguish that forces them into constant activity. When sleeping, they may dream, but there is no reason to think they dream of being in another world. And when they are not asleep, they are wholly awake. A time may come when they know that they are about to die, but they do not spend their lives dreading its arrival. So that bit about constant activity, how many people do you know who they have to be busy? Oh my god, I know so many people like this who cannot ever just slow down, sit alone in a room without distractions, and just chill. So many people, especially, I don't have experience with this because I don't have kids and don't want them, but people who have kids and, they're married and they're just constantly on the go, and then if they have like a serious career on top of that, they can never slow down, and they never let themselves slow down either, because I don't care how busy you are, there's 5 minutes in your day when you can take time for yourself to meditate or calm down. But for so many people, and I definitely can relate, you need to keep busy to distract from all the scary thoughts, and one of those thoughts is death. whether it's yours or the people or animals that you love, it's easier to exist when you are not focusing on that. And so for a lot of us, we have to constantly stay busy. And I don't like knowing that. You know, I've noticed times in my life where I have so much going on, and I'm like, oh, look at me. I think I might be happy now. When really I'm just distracted and busy, and that's not the same thing. And yeah, I feel like I'm always reaching for this state of enlightenment. And one thing this book really got across is that it's not a thing. Like, we are always searching for answers. We got cat number 2 over here. There he is. That's my crazy boy. I wish you could see. Caddy is so chill on my lap right now. But Springer found the back of the chair. I love this chair. I've had it for quite a while. And they love tearing it to shreds, which is so cute. I'm not being facetious. It's really cute. I don't care that they tear up my furniture. It's only this chair. They don't touch anything else. It's so funny. Okay, morality without altruism is just lack of. Okay, let's see. We inherit the belief that morality in its highest form means altruism, that is, selflessness or living for others. Empathy, in this tradition, is the heart of the good life. Cats, on the other hand, except where their kittens are concerned, show few signs of sharing the feelings of others. They may sense when their human companions are distressed and stay with them through a time of trouble. They may give succor to the sick and dying, but cats are not sacrificing themselves in any of these roles. Just by being there, they are giving human beings relief from sorrow. That is such an interesting concept, because since watching The Good Place, I have wanted to completely change my life and become a better person, because I relate way too much to Eleanor and her selfishness and and sort of distrust of other people. Yeah, and just kind of like thinking everything in the world is crap, so who cares? Do what you want. So they talk a lot in the show about like helping other people and the duty we have to help other people, what we owe each other. But this is interesting, that not needing to be altruistic in order to be moral and still live the good life. What a concept. And it's true, cats, they are not evil, but they're also not going out of their way to help others most of the time. But just by them existing, they're making our lives better. They improve our quality of life when they're around. Very interesting. Got a few more here. This is just so fascinating to me. So this is in the human versus feline love section. A recurring theme of Gaitskill's work is the contradictoriness of human love. Humans look to love for relief from boredom, the comfort of being an object of affection or obsession, an opportunity to wield power and inflict pain on themselves and others, and the excitement that can come from self-destruction. Love between humans and animals lacks these blemishes, and losing it may be more shattering than the end of a purely human love. And then this part is kind of on the same theme. Among human beings, love and hate are often mixed. We may love others deeply, and at the same time resent them. The love we feel for other human beings may become hateful to us and be felt as a burden, a fetter on our freedom, while the love they feel for us can seem false and untrustworthy. If, despite these suspicions, we go on loving them, we may come to hate ourselves. The love animals may feel for us and we for them is not warped in these ways. It is just pure. It's so pure. There's no power struggle or imbalance when we love the animals that we share our lives with. And they choose when they want to hang out with us. And oh my gosh, it is just so crazy that I just filmed a video and they were not hanging around me, and then I start filming this one about cats. Cat here, and it's so precious. It's so precious. Yeah, they are pure love without any conditions, nothing, no strings attached. It's just They are little beings of love. And oh my god, I love them so much. I'm gonna cry. Okay. So I love this part. If by eternity is understood not endless temporal duration, but timelessness, then he lives eternally who lives in the present. Because they think they can conceive the end of their lives, humans believe they know more of death than do other animals. But what human beings know as their oncoming death is an image generated in their minds by their awareness of passing time, knowing only their lives as they live them. Cats are mortal immortals that think of death only when it is nearly upon them. It is not hard to see how they came to be worshipped. Mortal immortals. I love that. Because as somebody who's like constantly fearing death, I'm always looking for ways to be at peace with it. How can I become okay with it? And that idea of if you live in the present, which cats do, they're just fully present. They're not thinking about the past or the future. They don't think about death. They're totally unburdened by it, and therefore they're timeless, which is another way of being immortal. And I thought that was genius. And so cool, like I'm living with immortal beings. They have so much to teach us. And there's a part in here about cats in Egypt, which is interesting. Cats were many things in ancient Egypt, sometimes companions of human beings as they passed on to another life, at other times manifestations of gods, at still others protectors of the gods. That they could be all of these at once testifies to the subtlety of the archaic Egyptian mind, but it also speaks to the presence of cats themselves. Cats symbolized an affirmation of life in a world preoccupied with the dead. Egyptian religion responded to the prospect of death by preparing for life in another world, but it needed cats to preserve a sensation of being alive in the realm beyond the grave. Knowing only life until they are on the brink of dying, cats are not ruled by death. The Egyptians had good reason for wanting cats to join them in the journey through the underworld. Ooh, another little sentence here. When it came to death, humans and cats were in the same boat. No one in ancient Egypt believed that humans have souls while cats do not. But if the soul is untouched by death, the feline soul is closer to immortality than the human soul can ever be. I just love it. I mean, totally understand why they would be worshipped. I truly think they're the most incredible beings that have ever existed. They cannot be topped. There are some cool animals out there, but cats are at the top. So there's this section at the end that is 10 feline hints on how to live well. And there's 2 that I really loved. Life is not a story. If you think of your life as a story, you will be tempted to write it to the end, but you do not know how your life will end or what will happen before it does. It would be better to throw the script away. The unwritten life is more worth living than any story you can invent. I definitely have this problem where I think everything's part of this story. And as a writer, it's really hard to not think that way. But what a beautiful concept, that there doesn't need to be a script to my life. There doesn't need to be an ending that I'll eventually write. It's just happening right now. And then sleep for the joy of sleeping. Sleeping so that you can work harder when you wake up is a miserable way to live. Sleep for pleasure, not profit. Love that. Let me see if I can show you my cats before I go. Oh my god. I can't get my camera off, but let's see. I will try to not take down everything in the world. There she is. I'm like struggling with the ring light here. And there he is. Sleepy kitties. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time.